All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Talk with Sheila James and none other than the Jean Lloyd. How are you, Jean?
I am awesome and so glad to be here.
Me
The
too.
sky is brighter and bluer today.
It is,
Since,
isn't it?
yes, since that victory we had over the past yesterday with the trial.
Well,
Yeah.
let's just look on Let's Talk, Jean. Let's just talk. And
Okay.
I'm going to say that this conversation is about exactly what you just said, the trial. And let's call this the verdict.
The verdict.
The
The, ver-
verdict.
the verdict.
So, Jean, what do you want?
Yes.
You start this conversation.
Well,
What do you want to talk about it?
well, first of all, I think this was the first time, I think for many of us, that we've had the opportunity to actually see what it looks like to participate in a trial,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to see all of the actors, all of the different aspects in which a trial that is held. That's
Yeah.
one. That was one gift. I think it's a gift. And the second thing that we were able to see is the power of people. So I remember before the trial, there was this same clip that was played over and over again where you could see Derek Chauvin on George Floyd's neck. And it was like a narrow view, right? And this is when I really got the world a point of view
Mm.
and the power of point of view. So
Yeah.
when you stopped and they started playing at the beginning of trial, day one. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
out there and you want to get the world of what I'm speaking of, go to day one of the trial and you'll start to see all of these different angles of what happened that day. And it opens up a panorama, a world of feelings, thoughts. I mean, I had no idea that he was in front of of a convenience store. I
Yeah.
thought he was I thought those people on the sidewalk were getting ready to go down, onto a train, like it was a bus depot or something. But the truth is, when you get all of the different views, the views from the body cams with the officers, when you get all of the footage from all of the different people that were taking the video that day, and then when you look at the view from the surveillance camera, wow, that's when you get, without a shadow of doubt, what happened that day.
Yeah. Let me say something. So what she's speaking to, what Jean is speaking to, when you see, because before we thought it was what? How many minutes?
Oh, we thought it was 8 minutes.
8 minutes and something. No, it was 9 minutes and 26 seconds. A whole nother minute and 26 seconds. So when you get to look at all of it, and you're so right, because even the way it was being at first demonstrated and exemplified in the media, it wasn't the convenience store, the people, some of the things that people were saying, the paramedics. I mean, it was like, oh my God.
It
And
was so, yeah, he had 3 people on him.
yes, and this
We saw
man,
mostly just Derek Chauvin. And
yes,
then also I remember when I first saw the footage and and then I saw some of the shouting from the bystanders on the sidewalk. I thought
yeah.
y'all should do something. I was very arrogant. I saw that little view and I came up with they should do something. Well, my goodness, when you see all of the footage, they did everything they could do, because I didn't even see the other officer that was standing there, Officer Cho. He had his hand on his mace and he had, I don't know what that was, waving around at them. Get back on the sidewalk.
Probably his taser gun, but we don't know because
I don't know what.
wait, because the taser gun looks so much like a gun now. That's another conversation. Go ahead.
I don't know what that was he was waving. I don't know if it was a billy club or whatever. It was just, he was intimidating them. Like, get back on the sidewalk. You don't see all that.
Well, Jean, hold on, let me ask you something. because, and then even when George Floyd was in the front seat of the car, was he in the
Right.
front when
He
he was
was
in?
in front of the-
Yeah. Didn't they draw the gun and put it in his face?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Now I'm gonna tell you something. I would have shit my pants. Excuse my French.
Well, he
It,
almost did. I mean, did you see his face?
yes,
Wow.
it
I'll
was
never
like
forget
that.
that.
I was just like, I mean, can you imagine a cop like with a loaded gun and boom, right in your? Listen, y'all. Most of us can't imagine it. I can't. Black, white, blue, purple, brown, whatever your skin color is. I can't imagine that. And over what? I mean, just the start of it, it was, or even let's go back to when he was in the car with, I mean, in the store. Let's go back.
Well, see, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I almost cried. I was so shocked because at one point, for the first time, you see him alive. When they show the footage in the store, it's like this really cool cat. He's having a good time. He's stretching, he's laughing, he's alive. And I got messed up. I was like, oh my goodness, that is him. Like for the first time you saw a live human being, you see. I needed to say that the heroes in this is everyone who took footage, because now we get to understand, and it made me see my life in a whole nother way too.
Yeah.
Like, don't be so quick to draw conclusions about the people in your life, because there's a different angle that they're looking from. There's a whole other world that you're not privy to.
Very
and
good.
I thought, like, slow down and get as much of what's so before you draw conclusions. This drawing conclusions is what led to the death of George Floyd. They drew a conclusion. They didn't go and write the citation for the counterfeit bill. They came in looking for something else called an out of control black male.
Amen.
And that's all they could see. So you don't really see with your eyes, you see what you expect to see. And the more I saw the panorama of the different views, the more I had compassion for everyone involved. But the day one, I think the biggest piece is this trial helps us begin to get a new look at how we are as humanity and what it brings out in us. It can bring out the best in you, or it can bring out the worst in you.
Yeah.
And you got to see the whole world of humanity, the despair, the loss, the commitment, the stand for the value of human life. And then the I'm gone. I actually have weapons on me, and I'm supposed to be providing, support for a man who obviously is under physical duress because of what I'm doing. They didn't even provide the guy any kind of recitation. And then when someone else came along to offer it, the firefighter, they wouldn't even let her participate. And you can see the despair in not being able to participate and save that man's life. So what I just did was kind of give you a broad sweep of all the different opportunities of what just happened. I mean, you could look at it differently than what I just said, but I think this point of view thing is real important. Yeah. And as they had footage inside of the paramedics' vehicle, they had footage from there. They had footage at the hospital. It was footage from every angle, you understand? And so that's the gift of this trial, was to begin to start to consider that the way we're related to each other, the way our system, our institution called the criminal justice system is not working, where it's working and where it's not working, and also where policing and police reform is necessary. So it was a very, very powerful, very difficult, but I did it. I watched everything and got real clear for myself, how can I make a difference and transform and empower people to take what we just saw to make a difference.
It's really great, Jane. I mean, I got nothing to add or say to that. That was so powerful, so, dead on, so right on. The one thing that you spoke about the point of view. And the point of view, let me just say a little bit more about that, is how you see things. Everything, and you said what so meaning like what the facts, just the facts, what really happened. There was what happened. And the prosecution did a extraordinary,
They did.
just an extraordinary job. And pretty much the defense didn't have a case and did what he did. He didn't have a case, and he did not.
I wouldn't want his job. Let's put it that way.
I mean, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Every time they showed it, 9 minutes and 26, and even the paramedics had to say, "Can you take?"
He was trying. He had a tap on him. He wouldn't get off. See, that tells you how gone we can be.
Yes.
The eyes are open, and you might even be talking, but you're not there.
Yeah.
It's like this cat left the planet like 20 years ago. No expressions. Even when the verdict was read, he looked the same as he'd been looking for days.
Okay, you mentioned he wasn't there. And then for some of us, including myself, we got to start looking at where we're not there. So, this has really opened up all of us. All of us.
I will say this to you.
Yeah.
We may not always know when we're not there. But here's the thing that I found very interesting. He had at least a dozen people telling him, those bystanders, "You're not here, dude." Feel his pulse, get him off the ground. They were shouting, and he still kept going like nothing was going on. This is
not
where
only like nothing was going on. He's in charge.
Yeah, but
he was no longer an officer. Well, he was an officer of the law, and as an officer of the law, he then became and started doing what he wanted to do, not what a police officer could do. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. This guy is gone. He's gone. I mean, look, we're not there's a number of things we have got to be responsible for with our police officers. You got to make sure that they're getting what they need to be present.
Yes.
And I think there's a number of actions that could be taken to determine whether someone is fit to be in that position. Maybe he should have been put on desk duty. I don't know. But what I know when someone is present, and he has not been present the entire time, he wasn't present that day. Another way to say it is he was doing it on automatic.
Yes.
There wasn't a critically thinking human being in place that day. And that's what those bystanders, see, they were shouting to get him to show up, and he never showed up. What you saw in the court, that's all I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Even on the tape, same thing. He's just sitting there on the man's neck with his hand in his pocket, with his glasses on his head, like, oh, what a beautiful sunny day, Memorial Day. Let me just sitting here.
We call them zombies.
Yeah, he was
being a zombie. So he was being a zombie. Well, that's really great. So we got that world. So now let's move into really. Okay, we got the verdict.
Right.
What's next?
Right. Yeah, the biggest thing I see is, so you got a lot of different actions that must be taken. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a whole lot of coordinated action that has to happen now with leaders all across the board, in our communities, in our institutions, particularly with our politicians. And why particularly them? Because we need legislation.
Yeah.
We need bills that
And public policy. Yeah.
yeah, public policy to stop this kind of violence. You know, the truth is, with just last week, 10 miles up the road,
Yes.
you know, that young man was murdered. I thought I had my gun. Excuse me. I thought I had my taser. Right. So
But hold on, but even that, why are you pointing a taser at a kid? You didn't have to be, you know, you could have been blind and gotten you were dealing with a kid that you probably could have took your hand and yanked them out the car.
they should have let him go.
Yeah.
They had everything. They had everything they needed. They didn't need to do anything further. Let him drive off. They had the license plate. They had everything they needed to find him. He was scared. Let him go.
Yeah, and again, their guns drawn.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like, you know,
Over
I mean,
the
what
top.
do you expect somebody to think or do? I mean, I can't even, and I don't want to imagine it happening to me, my son, or really anyone. Anyone is inhumane, and that you think you can do that. And again, in the last conversation, I talked a little bit about some of my friends, you know, who live really a great life. I live a pretty great life, but that's never going to happen to their children, ever. Nobody's ever going to put a gun in their face like that, ever. So they're around sipping lemonade by the pool in the shade. They don't even get it.
Well, you know, listen, white privilege doesn't see anything. Really. I mean, look at Amy Cooper. I mean, perfectly, professional. Everybody respected her. She's in the park and the big black man, he's looking at birds. Okay. And she goes nuts and goes, oh my God, loses it. Well,
and then hold on. And is this the one who said she's gonna call the police?
Yeah, she was calling. Yeah, I'm calling the police. Since the whole point is the only way to be able to live with the murder of human life is you got to check out. So the people looking the other way are just as culpable as the people who are doing the damage, like Derek Chauvin. They're all in it. See, none of us are free. The oppressed and the oppressor, we are paying for it. And they're paying with it by not being a part of the human race, looking the other way. Mm-hmm. But then you have a whole lot of people who are present, who are marching, who are putting the conversation up in people's faces to pay attention to. If you look at the marchers, they're all ages, they're all backgrounds, they're all kinds of different ethnic groups. It's humanity that's woke up finally, after a long time, has finally woken up to, wait a minute, we're walking around like we're not part of them, like we're not like they're not part of the human race, or we don't have anything to do with that, when we're all human. And that's why the timing, I think now, for the first time, is perfect.
Yes.
The timing is there. And now we've got to get people to bring forth their leadership and get some coordinated action. Try not to do everything in separate pockets. Go find other groups who are also for what you're for and collaborate. See, those collaborations is what had Joe Biden get in office. Yeah. They started pulling together all the different voting coalitions. And we do that now. All the different people out there that are for the empowerment of our peace officers. There's lots of groups that are for that. There's groups out there that are for our communities working. Collaborate and get some coordinated action. Okay, how are we going to have our politicians participate with us versus fight each other?
Yes. Well, on that note, I want to share a few things, few of my own thoughts in terms of, you know, what I see this has opened up, and I call it Sheila 7. It might be 8 in here, so bear with me, Jean.
Okay.
Where I think we can now powerfully go to work, and I'm going to take my time and share it. Criminal justice, that's number one, including police reform, prison reform, charging young people as adults and going to sleep afterwards. Like, I mean, seriously, law reform that sends the driver of the car to jail 20 to 10 years over being the driver of a car of someone who does something. Excessive sentencing and transitioning, setting things up so people can powerfully come out of the system. Our judges, the law, public defenders, what has happened at the border, children being separated from their moms and dads, relatives, what we're dealing with COVID. We can't forget about people. Power to the people, prison reform, plea bargains, lying to avoid trial or life, not the truth. You know, most of the plea bargains, that's what they do. These guys go say, I'm guilty, but so which is lying to avoid the trial or life imprisonment without parole. Given time in prison, you'll love this one, Jean. Given time in prison, like it's handing out government trick cheese. And those of you who don't know what that is, ask your parents. The second thing I see is education reform, started with history. Not history rewritten, including health and healing, our history written. It's not accurate. Give a truthful account of the history of the United States of America. Number 3, end poverty and the disempowering conversations that give it and has it perpetuate itself from generation to generation. You know, poverty can be ended. It was an invented conversation. Civics and citizenship, a birthright. Write the history book, include all of it, and begin to empower our children and young people early in being a citizen and citizenship and their rights. And then our economic reform, an agenda of economic reform, which could be economic inclusion or withdrawing economic support, education, inclusion, like really reform. Some of the things that COVID has unconcealed in terms of what I see and the all of it are all of the things that aren't working, haven't been working, haven't been examined at all. And then the last piece for me, big piece, and I'm going to say it, you know, reparations. You do owe us. We have built, participated, contributed to pretty much every product, building, recipe. The truth be told, a Black woman discovered Coca-Cola, creating something to resolve Massa's headache with the coca plant. And then from there, a formula. And I know, other than an executive from Coca-Cola, we're not receiving a dime from that. Clothing, you know, stolen land, men and women and children. I mean, they're, you know, making amends. A reparation is the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money or to otherwise help those who have been wrong. And then what there is for all of us to be responsible for each and every human being on the planet. Sensitivity, compassion for one another. You know, life has come about, oh, she wore this. Oh, he lied. Oh, she made me cry when she asked me what color fly. I mean, when did we become that? I mean, what about honoring thy neighbor? Economic sharing and contribution and distribution. So what I'm about is connectivity, connecting commitments to resources for the empowerment of all. We have everything we need. We can hear just in this conversation what Jean Lloyd brings to the table. You can hear it. You can see it. You can touch it. But we all bring something to the table. Bring yours. Bring your A game. But this is what I see, like the immediate conversations, the immediate, things and I'm going to say in this country, can go to work on. So Jane, anything about any of that as we wrap it up? But those are just Sheila's top 7.
Okay.
Those are Sheila's top 7. That's not the right thing. But those are the things that I'm just like, has opened up for me that I really see newly that we can engage with. Anything about any of that, Jane?
Well, it's a tall bill. I think there's all of that has to happen. The part that I would play in any of that would be creating the context for it to be able to live and thrive over time.
Yeah.
So it could be sustainable.
Yeah.
Because people bring me in because they're committed to something new and they need someone to help them sort out how to think about it. So I just bring leadership to support them in bringing leadership to what it is they're dealing with through the medium called communication. And I think communication is missing. Mm-hmm. And people are just confusing talking with communication.
For sure.
Right. And so communication, if you were actually communicating, you would be producing lots of results. But for the most part, these places where there are disparities and pain and loss and suffering, we seem to be armoring it with complaints. And what I do is move it from complaint to commitment. Because I know there's a commitment behind that complaint. I don't dismiss it. Absolutely. I'm listening for what the commitment that's there and showing them how to move it into an empowering context called I'm committed to something. I'm for something. I'm going to get it done. And then work with them on the world of communication. That's where your word creates your world.
And that's where it all comes to life. That's where it all comes. Beautiful and well said. Anything you want to say in closing this conversation, Jean?
Yeah, I would just say I'm happy to be alive to see the culmination of with thousands and thousands of people whose faces we don't know and we've never seen, that made it possible for a new genesis for us. And I look forward to the work at hand, because it's not work to me. It's what I love to do, which is help people come alive and have some compassion for what it takes to live on this physical plane. So I'm happy to be alive to experience it. That's what I have to say.
Well, this has been a privilege and a joy working with you, engaging with you in this conversation. Prayerfully, for those of you listening, take what you can, try the coats on where it fits, take action, take new actions, discover who you are in the matter. And on that note, I want to say goodbye. God bless George Floyd and his family and his children. God bless the attorneys. God bless all of us, really. We sing the song, People Need the Lord, and we do. So God bless you. Thank you. And we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.